Hi everybody, it has been a while since I have posted a video, and as you can tell, I'm in my car right now. Caden is visiting with my mom, and he doesn't like me out of his sight. Like, he doesn't like leaving me, so he can see me right now. So this is like the only time that I can think of that I have time to film this video and such. So like I said, excuse that I'm in my car and I'm a mess, but the last video I made was about my Clomid, me taking Clomid, and I pretty much left off with, I was going to shoot the next video and tell you guys if I was pregnant or not. And I actually did get pregnant on the first cycle of Clomid, which was super exciting, and we were extremely excited, and it actually ended up into a miscarriage. So I'm going to try my very, very best to not get emotional during this video. If there's a lot of cuts or whatever, it's probably because I started crying, and I don't really want to cry on video because I am an extremely ugly crier and such. But so yeah, I'm going to try to hold myself together. But I found out I was pregnant. I'm looking at my notes if that's why I keep looking down and such. So, I found out I was pregnant on January 27th. That's when we got our first, very visible pregnancy test. I took tests previous to that, and I could have swore there was a faint line. I just kept saying, oh, you're too excited. But we actually ended up finally getting our first positive pregnancy test on January 27th, and it was the most exciting thing in the entire world. And I actually made a pregnancy update video when I was, I believe, 4 weeks pregnant. I was almost 5 weeks pregnant. I made a video that I was actually going to post. I made it on that Friday, and the next day, if you guys upload videos and such, you know how long they take to save, and then after that point it takes a good bit of time to actually upload to YouTube. So yeah, I filmed it that Friday, and that Saturday, which was February 6th, we actually took Caden to Disney on Ice, and it was a really good time. And I woke up pretty crampy that morning, and just FYI, I'm going to go into, my symptoms and everything that happened and such. So if you don't want to hear about that, this is probably the right time to stop the video or fast forward till the end, or whatever you want to do. I started my channel for a reason. I started because, for one, I want to look back on these memories, and for two, for other people that are trying to conceive and such. I feel like this would help them, and I know there are a lot of people that have posted their miscarriage stories, and it helped me out tremendously at this time. So that's why I'm really posting mine and such, because I just want to help somebody. And like I said, for me to be able to look back on, which this isn't really a memory that I would like to think about often, but so yeah, on Saturday, February 6th, I woke up crampy, and days before, I had previously been pretty crampy, but I didn't really think anything of it because cramping in the first trimester is normal. It's not really anything super serious. So I woke up that morning, and like I said, I was pretty crampy, but I didn't think anything of it. And we took Caden to Disney on Ice that day. We had a really good day. Like I said, super excited about being pregnant. That's all we talked about. That's all we did. That's what we were so focused on. When we got home that evening, I went to the bathroom around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and if you've ever been pregnant, you know that you're obsessed with every time you wipe, you look down to make sure there's nothing wrong, because that's just how your mind works. And I wiped, and there was a little bit of old blood, like the brownish red, not really red, just mostly brown. So I immediately freaked out. I immediately just freaked out and called my doctor and everything, and his, actually I didn't call my doctor, I lied, I'm sorry. I called the the, what's it called, the Nurses Hotline, where you can like speak to a nurse and stuff, and she said to just really pay an eye, like a close eye on it. If it's brown, it really means that it's mostly old blood, so it's not really anything to super worry about, so that kind of eased my mind. But as the night went on, I ended up wiping more and more, and around 11 o'clock that night, I went to the bathroom and I wiped, and it was pure blood, like red, lot of blood, and I instantly cried and yelled for Chad, and Chad came in and kind of just threw his head down, and we kind of knew at that point probably what was happening. So I ended up going to the ER, and they first off, they did a pregnancy test, obviously, just because I hadn't been to my my OB appointment yet, and it confirmed I was pregnant. They also took blood to do my HCG levels, and my HCG level was an 81, and if I remember correctly, you need at least an HCG level of a 25 to be considered pregnant. So I was definitely pregnant. They did say for how far along I should have been, my numbers were kind of low, but it really just varies with every person on what their levels are. So they felt around, they ended up giving me a catheter just to make sure, to see if there was blood in my urine. They did a lot of various things, and they kind of just told me that it's just a waiting game, pretty much. They said it could still be a lot of older blood, especially since I had irregular periods. But they also said to pretty much prepare myself for, you know, the worst. So, the next day, I kind of was just extremely depressed, and laid around. I didn't do anything. They told me to pretty much put myself in bed rest, you know, no intercourse, no nothing like that. So I pretty much just laid in bed all day, and I was already a mess because I had a feeling that that's what was happening. So, as the day progressed, I wiped more and more blood. It just was more and more and more. So Monday, I got a hold of my doctor and told him that I was at the ER over the weekend, and he pretty much prepared me that that wasn't good, but at the same time, he, you know, I think he was still a little hopeful for me. So he, like I said, I'm looking down at my notes, I literally recorded everything. So that Monday, he actually, he said more than likely that it was still a little too early, but he scheduled me for an ultrasound. So I went and had an ultrasound done, and pretty much she found absolutely nothing. My, if I remember correctly, I apologize if not, my uterine lining was still thick, which was, it's a good sign, but she didn't see anything, and she said that once again it could still be that I was just too early to see anything, but once again that was kind of I felt, you know. I went to the ER again that night, because it was pretty much going to tell me that night if I was miscarrying or not by my HCG levels, because technically they're supposed to double every, I believe, 24 to 48 hours. So I was there Saturday night around like 1 to 2 o'clock. So I needed to go on Saturday, I needed to go Monday night around that time, because it should have been doubled. My doctor told me that I at least needed a level of like a 114, and that would kind of mean that it was still doubling and that I would be on the safer side. So I went and got my blood drawn that early in the morning, and I was able to call back within like an hour around like 3 a.m. and get my results over the phone. And my level actually dropped to a 41, so it completely like cut in half. So at that point, I knew that there was no chance of anything and that we lost the baby. So, Chad took off that Monday and Tuesday from work just because he wanted to be with me at that time. I mean, obviously it was really hard for him as well, but he knew that he needed to be there for me and to help take care of Caden. I talked to my doctor that day, and he told me that I am in the process of having a miscarriage and that I should expect, you know, what I should expect, cramps, bleeding, and such. And he told me that obviously to try to do it naturally and try and not do it, I believe it's called a D&C, if all possible, and I really did not want to do the whole D&C thing. So, I was able to do it naturally. It was really good. I didn't really have a lot of pain. The first night, Wednesday, was really the only time that I had a lot of pain, and I remember it was, that night, I was in a bunch of pain, and I mean, it got to the point where it was unbearable. It literally felt like contractions in my hips, and it lasted for a few hours, but I think I took Motrin. That's what he told me to really take to see if that would help, and I think it ended up helping. The rest of the time, I didn't even really bleed that heavily, which I know I was still early on. I didn't really bleed enough I wore pads, but it was really just when I wiped and such. It wasn't like unbearable. I'm looking down again. I completely stopped bleeding around February 13th, and like I said, the cramps were never really horrible except that one day. I mean, they were enough to where I wanted to stay in bed, but not to the point where it was just unbearable. And I didn't really bleed that much, like I said. It was really just emotionally the hardest thing that I think I've ever had to go through. I'd always said, you know, I could not imagine what people go through when they have a miscarriage, and I never, ever, ever thought that I would have one. But it happens. I immediately started blaming myself that I wasn't eating correctly, or I wasn't eating the best, or that I could have drank more water, or I could have been more careful when picking up Caden, or just being more careful in general. But my doctor really just kind of told me that this early on it wasn't anything I could have done. It was more of there was something wrong with the baby. So I guess it was better that it happened earlier on than if the pregnancy would have progressed more and more. But it's hard. It's still really hard to just for trying for so long, as much as Chad and I have been trying to get pregnant for 3 years, trying to get pregnant and going on fertility medicine and getting your hopes up, and then finding out that you are pregnant and your world completely changing, and then to just lose the baby it's just hard. It's still really hard. I mean, at this point, I'm kind of doing a lot better and such, obviously, time's going on. But it's still really hard to just think about that, but I have to move on. Or I'll start crying and I won't stop. So, my doctor wanted me to take a pregnancy test later on, just to confirm that all of the hormones and such was gone. And I took a test on February 13th and it came back completely negative. So yeah, so my first cycle of Clomid was successful. I did get pregnant, but I didn't end up keeping it. I ended up miscarrying. And like I said, I wanted to share this video just for various reasons, as I mentioned. For one, when I started my channel, I wanted to document a lot of stuff just about my life, and I wanted to be able to look back on these things. Like I said, I don't really think that I want to look back on something like this, but it is nice to know that I did document it and such, and I want to be able to help somebody if I can. Like I said, I watched a lot, and I mean a lot, of videos when I was going through my miscarriage about other women that had been through the same thing, and it literally helped me out tremendously. Just about what to expect and how other women were coping with it as well, because I just felt that when you're that early on, a lot of people don't take it as seriously as what it is, but it's still losing a baby. It's still losing a pregnancy, and it's not easy. I would never wish it upon anybody. It's extremely hard to go through physically and emotionally, and it's hard for your spouse to go through it as well. I mean, Chad really did not ever, I mean, obviously he cried and he was sad and such, but I know he was trying his best to stay strong for me. And that was hard for him, because I know there was moments where he wanted to take it a lot harder than what he was, but he knew that he needed to be strong for me, and I appreciate that more than he could ever understand. And Caden was just the most helpful thing in the entire world. He knows when his mommy is in pain and when there's something not right with me, and he comforted me non-stop and constantly asked me if I was okay and if there was anything he could do. And I am so thankful for the healthy little boy that I do have. I could cry talking about it. I am so thankful for Caden. And trying again, at first, I didn't really think that I could do it again, just because I am so afraid that it will happen again. And at first I just told Chad I don't really want to try again. And if we do try again, I want it to be way down the road and such. And as the weeks went by, we kind of just decided that we still have this same mindset of growing our family, and that's still what we want to do. So I'm going to make a whole separate video about what our plans are and everything, but mostly this video was just about, you know, my miscarriage story. And once again, I don't really know what to say. It's not a very happy video, but like I said, I'm sharing it for various reasons, and I appreciate everybody that has reached out to Chad and I at this time. Literally everybody's prayers and everything that everybody has said has meant so much to us. Everybody that's messaged me and everything, it really meant a lot. I could not thank anybody enough for all of the kind words. It really, really, really meant something to us. So thank you guys all for that, and thank you all for watching the videos that we do post and stuff. Like I said, we're doing it for a reason. It is a hobby. I mean, honestly, it's something that I have lately enjoyed doing, but it's mostly because I was helped out a lot throughout my pregnancy, and still to this day, watching mothers and such on YouTube have really helped me with my parenting styles and helped me just in a lot of different ways. So my hope is to do that for somebody. So thank you guys for watching, and I didn't cry too much. I had to stop the recording a good bit through, but I got through it, so I'm proud of myself for that. But thank you guys for watching.